To summarize a lot of what we have said, some of this terminology, I'd like us to consider the diagram of a tree. And a tree that has got fruit. I don't know whether this looks like durian. Forgive my drawing. But down here in the roots, you have the Qur'an and Sunnah. This is the source of all of fiqh. Up here, as the fruit, you have a fatwa. And to produce a fatwa from the Qur'an and Sunnah, there are certain tools that the scholars use, and sometimes they differ, so you have branches there. But this is where they are looking at Usul al Fiqh and Maqasid. These basically go together. We'll look at this soon. But here you are looking at ijtihad. The methodology. Okay? The methodology and tools of ijtihad. If the Quran and Sunnah has already answered a question, like, is alcohol haram? It's already clear. Okay? So no need to go into any ijtihad. It's a very clear statement. There's no need for any interpretation. It quickly goes, and the fatwa is haram. And you have different fatwas, and these fatwas all together are in the area of fiqh. The scholars who are down here are your mufassir, muhaddithun, these are the scholars who help us understand the meaning of the verse of the Qur'an, the credibility, reliability, context of hadith. How many narrations, how authentic, all of that information. So these deal with the raw material. These are dealing with the methodology of extracting rulings from the Qur'an and the Sunnah. And if the Qur'an and Sunnah is silent, they would look at other tools which we will be looking at soon. Tools such as ijma, consensus. Tools such as qiyas. Tools such as consideration of maslahah, public interest, or istihsan, or saddud daraya, or urf, istishab, etc. So, using these tools are not the tools used by mufassirun. Okay? The scholars of tafsir do not deal with qiyas, maslaha, istihsan, urf, saddud daraya, etc. It's not the job of the mufassir. It's not the job of the muhaddith to look into qiyas, maslaha, ijma, istihsan, saddud daraya, and urf, etc. This is the job of the scholars who are in the area of ijtihad, the mujtahid. So here you are dealing with your mujtahid. And the person giving fatwa is a mufti. Usually, the qualification of a mujtahid, if he was in his society and he knew the urf, then he was qualified to also be a mufti. But a mufti was not necessarily qualified to be a mujtahid. If we use another field to give us an example, let's look at the area of, say, medicine. No worries. So we look at the field of medicine, for example. Here, down at the bottom, you have people who look for herbal extracts. People who are looking at the raw material, whether petroleum-based, whether mineral-based, whether plant-based, animal-based. Here they are dealing with the raw material for producing medicine. Then you have the industrial pharmacist. These are the people who produce medicines. And then up here, the mufti is the doctor who will diagnose and give a medicine. There's your clinical pharmacist who is your faqih. So this is your clinical. This is the person who is sitting at the counter. He's got all the medicines there. But he has not been trained to diagnose. Yeah. If you ask him, how many medicines do you have for malaria? He can tell you we've got about 7 medicines or 10 medicines that have been produced by the industrial pharmacist. But he would tell you, let the mufti, the person who will diagnose, he will be the one to decide which of these medicines is good for this patient. Sometimes a medicine expires. The disease has changed. And so remember, because this is a human effort, ijtihad is the use of human reasoning for interpreting. It produces a fatwa in fiqh, and you can have muftis disagreeing. Just like doctors disagree on their diagnosis and they disagree on their prescription. Why? Because this is human effort. This is fiqh. And as the seasons change, the fruits change. Yeah. So what was good for one society, the same doctor will change society and he will change his prescription. Somebody comes with malaria, he will give this medicine. A next patient comes with malaria, but this person is not the same as the first person. You know, the first person, he could give him this medicine. The second person is taking some other medicine, is allergic to some medicines. Maybe he's pregnant. Maybe there are certain reasons why another medicine would be different and a different dosage. So the person who focused on deciding which of the opinions of scholars, which of the fatwas and ijtihad of the mujtahids is which of these are relevant, was the mufti. Not just a faqih, but somebody who was good at diagnosing his society. And because society has become more complicated, the mufti was helped with a form of ijma called shura, consultation. And so the mufti usually has experts in Qur'an, in hadith, in usul, in the problems of society, in what things would lead to, maybe even sociologists, depending on the subject. So if the fatwa was to be with Islamic finance or economics, they will get people who have studied risk assessment, impact assessment. Will this policy actually solve problems, or will it create more poverty? You know, is it another way of doing riba, or is it really different, independent financial product or service? So the mufti will get his group to reach a consensus, and that is usually the fatwa that they will give.